Good morning. My name is Gabriel O'Keefe and I'm from the ecoBiz program. Today's webinar will be focusing on energy as a core element to running a business, literally any business. It's how we run and provide output for if we're in manufacturing, tourism, accommodation, retail, professional services. And historically, it's been seen as an inevitable cost of doing business. However, what we want to do today is look at dissecting that and seeing how we can identify countless opportunities to reduce unnecessary consumption and wastage, and in doing so, save a lot of money and build a more productive business model. Today, our speakers will be ecoBiz consultant Eddie Foord, ecoBiz partners and owners of Perfect Potion, Shackleton, and solar and battery installers, energy partners, Jay Dean. And they're going to be looking at some of the ways that we can practically change up how we operate business and the equipment deployed to become more energy efficient. So I'll hand over now to Eddie to start taking us through some of those really practical examples.
Lovely, Gabe. Thank you very much. Okay, my name is Eddie Foord. I'm just going to talk to you really, Gabe, just move on to the next slide. That's great. So we're just going to look at understanding energy costs. Often you'll get a bill on a monthly or quarterly basis and it has a number, and you might look at just the energy cost itself. But the first thing to do is really actually get to know your energy bill and understanding of where all those costs lie. Because if you look at the chart, generally it's around about 50% is just the actual base energy cost. The rest of it can be environmental charges, it can be transmission costs, it can be peak demand. And it's really good to actually just take your total kilowatt hours and divide that up by your bill and give you a full price per kilowatt. Often you might see a price on your bill of about, say, 25 cents or 21 cents or even less for large users. But the total cost will be quite different. So once you've got that understanding, you really need to, step back from your business. So when you're in it, it's, you've got this domestic blindness. But if you step back and think, where is energy as a business cost within my business? Because you'll find it's in everything you do. So really a great way to look at this is through probably the 8 lean waste model, which is there as Tim Woods. So you see that covers transportation, inventory, motion, weighting, over-processing, overproduction, defects, and skills. So if you take a look back and really look and say the first one, think about transportation. So where am I transporting my products and services? Like, where are they going? How far? Can that be optimized? Can it be shortened? Can we look at different means of energy to do that? An example could be, for example, pick and pack scenarios where people are using, electric pickers. A lot of factories are moving over to just simple push bikes and those kind of things. So the substitution there. The key thing, the next one is about inventory. So if you're storing lots and lots of product on site, that means that you either need to heat or cool them. So practical examples I've seen of smaller businesses where I've got a small butcher where they've got 2 massive cool rooms and they have fluctuations in demand and they don't organize their cool rooms very well. So literally they have 2 cool rooms running where their inventory can be organized and ordered on time by having a just-in-time methodology, and they can literally shut down one of their cool rooms for half of the year, which is massive for them. So management inventory, it might not seem that energy related, but if you look at it through the energy lens, it's really important. Now, the next thing, I guess, is just also about motion of people as well. So often people use forklifts or they use vehicles, to actually make movements. So the case is using tools like 5S to look at the distribution of people. You can draw lines where people are moving and start to actually move workstations. You can move processes closer together and to reduce that motion, and that in turn reduces your energy consumption. Weighting is the next one. Weighting could mean excess heating of, say, a food product in a food factory. So therefore, you don't have to heat it for as long, so you can reduce that timing, or different methods of heating and cooling. The next one, which is always over processing. So you can imagine if you are say you're rendering if you're breaking down to a granular level from a rock, and that involves energy. If you're actually going past the required size of that rock, excess energy is called over-processing. So if you can monitor more closely and have feedback systems where you don't over-process and actually stop that machine, there might be like 10, 20, 30% gain from monitoring that over-processing. And the next one's a bit more obvious, is overproduction. So if your customer demands 10, but you actually overproduce by 100, all that energy is not actually needed by your customer, and they've got to pay for that. So actually processing to the right demand is really important. And then the last two are important too, which is defects. So if you're making a defective product, that needs to be transported back to rectified or thrown away, or reworked on site before it leaves the site. So managing that it greatly leads to reduction in energy costs too. And lastly, which is the most important bit, it's called skills or underutilized creativity. Now, everyone has so much amazing ideas when they're working, and they just need to be embraced and have systems to actually get that out and actually process that. So that's really important. And I guess the key question looking at business costs is like, one question I always like to ask people is like, how much product would you need to make, if you reduce your energy costs by 70%? So really, like, if you reduce your energy costs by 50, 70%, like that cost, say, call it, I don't know, $100,000, with your profit margin, how many widgets would you need to make with your profit margin to actually get that back? And you'd be staggered by how much it is. So often it's a really easy win to gain cash flow to reduce costs. And also people don't really look at their energy costs in the long-term scenario. So really, I guess the last thing I want to say about cost-cutting measures with the long-term benefits, like, really, the lean methodology, if you haven't embraced that, to look at your business processes, look at the value and to map that out, and then to look at where energy is being used is really important. So to become efficient and have problem-solving experts and people that can see the waste and reduce it and then retain those in the business so they can further propel your business is so important. So that can be a really, really amazing way to reduce costs without letting go of people. And Shingo in Japan, they say that any process can be improved by 96%. That's their experience. So if you just take that, that number, and I'm sure there's most reactions is, no way, it can't be done. But you'd be amazed how much you can improve your business if you use the right tools. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So really the next slide is just really looking at, I guess, behavior change, which is obviously the most important because it's a mindset, heart set, people-based business. Your company is the people, and they make it or break it, as you know. So really education. So giving them the energy training, the skills to understand what energy they're consuming, but also giving them the tools and time and budgets to be able to go out, research, get experts in, to give them options, allow time for meetings is really important. So really, I guess, formal systems are really useful, and having sacred time for that. So there's boards. So the picture on that slide is actually called an SQDC board. Now, that's just a plan, do, check, act board. So at the top, you see where you're going with your energy, how much, and then you start to look at the actual targets you want to set for that, and actually why you're over that target. And then you start to look at to rank the causes. So why is that forklift using 10% more LPG? Because we've actually moved that station X amount, and there's a special order that needs to be a certain place. And then you think about why. So why is that occurring? So you start to use the 5 why tools or root cause analysis software to say, why have we moved that into a certain place? Because we haven't got cold storage there, okay, in that location, or we've managed our inventory badly, so we've had to move to another station. So what can we do about it? Then we start to set actions, and then this would often be on a weekly problem-solving meeting, together for half an hour around a visual management board. So servicing problems visually and actually having a system to process are really important. And the rewards could be that, any energy savings goes into a big bucket, and, the employees get 20% of it, and they can do whatever they want with it, in terms of rewards. But most of the time what I found is with these systems, if they're empowered, if they're given the time, if they're given the autonomy and training to actually achieve things, that they're just quite happy to actually intrinsically get rewards from this to reduce energy using good systems. So you really don't need to sort of pay for that. And the last one I want to talk to you really is about aggregating energy costs. So you'll get a bill, like I said before, on a monthly, quarterly basis. You need to look at the true cost, but then you might be paying around 25 cents. But with options such as solar, where you're looking at the 6 or cents mark, and it's a 25-year asset, or more, then you really need to start looking at long-term costs. And 5 to 10 cents per kilowatt hour, depending on the business, could be like $250,000 or $1 million plus, or a lot more, over 10 years. And so you can really start to see and give employees the information and decision makers the information to say, hey, if we tweak this now, this is going to have this ripple effect. And rather not working from minute to minute, month to month, and quarter to quarter, and you can start to make bigger long-term decisions. So that's really important to do that. So with the ecoBiz program or other providers, we do that. We aggregate 12 months worth of data as a baseline, and we give you that access to do that. So it's really useful to see the bigger picture. Okay, we'll look at the next one. And so here, I just want to talk through here, I guess, really reducing energy costs, but look at the activities that really lead to quite quick change, that are low and moderate spend. The first thing, I guess, as I spoke to earlier, is really the mindset and the heart set, and what I call is domestic blindness. So when you're in a business and you're working day to day, you often can't see the opportunities unless you have a system to step back, observe and reflect, and then actually start to record, analyze what you're doing and measure it against some kind of benchmark. And so once you start to do that and think differently, the hierarchy of control is really useful. So this really looks at, like, I guess, elimination to start with, because I think often, with energy projects, there can be, if you had a brainstorming session, people go, LED lights, okay, I need solar, I need this and that. But for example, like I've worked in food factories where instead of doing a certain cleaning in place process, we've actually been able to remove that and then change the flow of the material. So that was completely eliminated, which eliminated about 7 million litres a year, plus energy costs in heating of that with the heat exchangers. It's those kind of big moves to start with in terms of looking to eliminate is what's really needed. So I guess I now need to step back and think, do we really need to do this? And is there a way to eliminate to start with? And then what's more, less effective, but we start to substitute. So we talked earlier about, picking products with it, like say an electric picker. You could go to obviously like a bike if that's possible. But it's just a case where, there's a life cycle of impacts from electric vehicles. So obviously there's impact in terms of creating batteries and charging and time and those different things. So substitution, replacing that energy use is important. Then the next one is engineering controls. So rather than relying on busy people that are focused on different things to turn off lights and taps and different things, that the control systems around energy is really important, which is obviously, we've seen that more and more now. And then lastly, really looking at the administrative control. So that's where you've got to, you've got to have training, you've got to lead, you've got to supervise, you've got to check the compliance, you've got to maintain all that systems. It's a barrel of work, and it's less effective. But yeah, it's a possibility, but always be looking to be at that top of that hierarchy of control. Some other things that are really, coming up as instant wins. So like a printing company a while back, they've got, it's only a small printing company, but they have probably about 36 kilowatt lights. And with their lighting levels, like they had the ability in probably about 30% of their business to reduce from 2 tubes down to 1. So you can go from like 36 tubes at 72 kilowatts an hour, down to 36 if you don't want to replace or any cost, but you can replace that with like a 10 watt LED and put a reflector on the back. And, literally you start to halve your energy costs, because generally, HVAC, AC, your lighting, plus general machinery are your key costs that you're dealing with. And so that's a really good one. LEDs now, the quality and pricing is exceptional if you get the right suppliers. Some people are looking at literally like 2-month payback in certain situations. HVAC control systems, I mean, they can vary from, bought systems to add onto existing. So obviously, like to SCADA, building management systems or full energy systems with like, Schneider Electric or NHP do various different control systems and it can be visualized. And so, but they can literally lead, like on its simplest sense is to really like manage and lock out the temperature control. So if in summer you're looking at the range between 24 and 27 optimized, now most people in Australia, what offices have I been to, at least 21, 20 range. And you can literally see a 10% drop in energy usage over a year. So it's a real thing that you can do, which is amazing. Seeing a lot of old computers still. Lots of people are moving to like software and laptops as the service, so you don't actually own it, so there's no waste, and it goes back to the supplier. And also then you can get like 9-watt computers from Dell, or you can use a laptop. So if you move from, say, a 600, 400-watt computer that peaks, various different points, but you go down to that 9-watt range, you're seeing massive reduction in costs. Also with the cloud computing, landscape now, and if that's possible, moving from obviously on-site server racks to in the cloud is a massive difference as well that we're seeing. And so lastly, like the 2 points I want to cover is plant and equipment maintenance. So that can be informally done with like Kanban cards, if you look that up, little T cards that you can do red and green, but really looking at the key aspects of your equipment and what affects energy, and actually like doing preventative tasks and being on top of that is important, all the way up to full computerized maintenance management systems, such as MEX, but they are really important. Preventative maintenance and management is really important to detect things early. And then lastly, augmenting energy management with software. So now, I mean, most people don't know that I talk to actually on their bill, they usually charge quite a few $100s for their smart meter, and they never access it. So you can go back to your energy company, you can access that data, and like metering dynamics is phenomenal. You can have automated, reports. You can have heat maps which show you distribution of energy through the day. You can have spike alarms. You can see everything. It's absolutely fantastic. And most of you have got that in your factories or offices. So utilize that. And then if you want to, you can link that in with NHP or Schneider Electric or anyone like that. Crowley Carbon offer advanced machine learning software, so each piece of equipment can talk to each other, and they can actually reduce energy through that machine learning sort of industry 4.0 process. So it's really, really out there for the taking. Okay, we'll just move on to the next one. Is really looking at, I guess, using capital expenditure to reduce costs. Now, replacing inefficient machinery and plant with new items. Like the first part of that is conditional monitoring where you can. That slide talks to monitoring vibrations, temperature, pressure, oil or noise. So with motors, there might be thermal scanning. So each year when you're doing a thermoscan session for your switchboard compliance, you can say, hey, can you look at my insulation? Can you scan my motors? So you can start to see where bearings, fail or anything like that. You can have in situ vibration monitors if you want to pay for that. But understanding that those key metrics of your equipment and when it's starting to reduce performance, and then planning when you're going to replace is obviously quite advanced, reliability engineering management, but it does pay for itself if you can afford that. And so obviously, like in terms of solar and battery, like now with the instant asset write-off incentives, the price and quality of equipment, the more availability and access of batteries now, energy partners are going to touch on that later, but installing solar is a key part of things, along with power factor reduction is an important one that we're seeing also. Variable speed drives, naturally very important. So these match supply and demand. So it's not all on, all off, and you might have soft start or any kind of management systems for motors, but they're really important in large equipment. So you must have for compressors or backhouses or things like that. And lastly, what I'm seeing as well is that insulation's up there, but not really taking its full right in the energy control space. So, in terms of price per return and ease of use and fitment, like insulation is literally number one. So if you haven't had an insulation review of your factory or office space in any recent times, that's like a must-have. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce you on now to JD from Energy Partners. He's going to talk through some of the processes they go to help businesses. Okay, so over to you, Jay.
Thanks very much, Eddie. Let's just go back there. Sorry, a little technical glitch there. Thanks very much, Eddie, and hello, fellow Queenslanders. Look, Energy Partners has a number of dedicated software tools and engineering services to help your business manage your energy costs. So what we're really doing here is dissecting your electricity bill and looking at where all your costs and the supply components make up your energy bill, and working out ways where we can introduce new technologies and capitalize on tariff optimization to really reduce, anywhere up to 60–70% of your energy costs. So everyone's probably seen this slide before, understanding the Queensland network. So we've got the wholesale generators over on our left, and this is what we call a centralized generation. And therefore, we then have high transmission lines that take the power to the substations. And this is all high voltage transmission, and that's run by PowerLink. And then from there, we have the distribution of the energy down to the low voltage network, in which is then connecting into our business premises. So you may have seen on your energy bills where we have QoS and DUoS in the network charges. That's what it means, transmission and distribution. And generally, it's roughly around 50% of your costs. Then we have the energy retailers. Now they are buying wholesale energy from the generators and then, incorporating the network costs to then be able to provide our businesses with, a bill at the end of the month. So once we start to understand a different supply chain here, what we can do is really capitalize. So what a lot of businesses are now looking at doing, because we're working during the day, is looking at what they call a decentralized energy generation, where they're having solar up on their roof. So what they're now doing is being able to tap into wholesale energy pricing with the solar panels. They're able to reduce the cost they're paying their retailers. And what we've worked closely with a lot of manufacturing businesses over the last few years is their tariff with Energex. Energex are the distribution network operator. They set the tariff structure on how businesses and energy retailers will then connect to the network and are billed accordingly. So we're seeing some really good optimized savings when we incorporate solar, power factor, lighting into these businesses, and it's really changing the way that businesses see their energy. And look, a lot of the time, the conversation we have, the cost, the payback, it's really a little bit of a no-brainer. However, what we do find with a lot of businesses is, okay, this is another thing that we need to integrate into our business. Someone else has to watch it. Someone else has to keep an eye on it. And so what we've been able to do is offer a number of tools and services for businesses that allow us to take a lot of that hassle out. So firstly, what we've got is a solar savings calculator. So what businesses can do is they can go onto our website, access the solar calculator. They can select the roof corners and the space on their roof. It's then able to work out how many solar panels can we fit up on the roof. Then it will generate a report, and it'll say, okay, this amount of panels is going to generate this amount of energy. And if you've got your bills and you've done a quick 12-month calculation, you might be able to work out whether it's 50, 60% of your bill. It's then also going to tell you, based on the energy it can produce, roughly how much it's going to save you. So that's really a good first step to find out, like, how much is our roof worth? I mean, it's an untapped resource. The sun is shining down on our roof. Why not generate it for ourselves instead of buying it from a coal-fired power station that the energy retailer is going to make a markup on? And, you know, let's still use the network because, you know, we need to be connected. So this is a great start here, is to work out what is your roof worth. So what we've done is we work with Perfect Potion a bit over a year ago, and with all of our customers, we're able to utilize some 3D software, so we can go in, we can build your building in a 3D aspect, looking at all your heights, looking at all your roof pitches, all your HVAC up on top of the roof, all your whirlybirds, your skylights. We're able to then pull in the weather station in the local area to look at the solar irradiance that we're going to get for that roof, and it's going to give us a really good design based on your unique footprint, your unique position, like postcode, as well as your roof aspect. And then what it's able to do is give us a design analysis. So this is now going to pinpoint how much energy is that solar going to produce compared to how much we are using at the moment. What is our self-consumption of that generation going to be? How much are we going to export back into the grid? And, you know, you can get paid money now to export power back into the grid from your commercial business. So with the project we did with Perfect Potion, we were able to access Energex, and they gave us full export on a larger system, even though they needed a slightly smaller system at that time. With the payback that they were able to access and then get a feed in, it's made it quite worthwhile. But now they're able to introduce other equipment into their business that's now running from solar power, from a renewable energy source. So this is going to give them, it's future-proofing them moving forward to save more money. Now, going to the monitoring, what we're able to do is we're able to provide you with a dashboard, either on your computer, your iPad. You have an app on your phone, and you can see how much power and energy your site is using, how much the solar is producing, and how much you're consuming of the solar, how much are you exporting to the grid. So this gives you a real quick bird's eye of day to day. It's a real quick and easy check. And also here at Energy Partners, we integrate this into our CRM system. So we get notifications of any system issue. And over on the right, you can see all the solar panel layout. We actually have 2 solar panels that are black and yellow. So what that means is there's actually an alert popped up. There's an issue that's popped up. We are able to diagnose what that issue is remotely. And then we're able to tap into our manufacturer as well that can go in and remote troubleshoot to get those panels back up and running. So this monitoring system that we offer and the ongoing operation and maintenance of your solar PV system, we take care of that all in-house. So it's really giving business owners a peace of mind that, oh, okay, well, look, the return on the investment is fantastic. And look, the ongoing support is going to be there. I don't need to take someone out of my business unit to fully focus and concentrate on it. It's managed by them as well as by Energy Partners at a deeper level. So it's really about peace of mind moving forward, choosing your right PV partner. And then once you've got your PV system installed, year in, year out, you need to make sure you're comparing. Which retailer is doing the best deal now? What's the price I'm going to pay? Is there a solar feed-in tariff? Has that swapped or changed? So for all of our solar customers, we have an energy retail comparison website. you're able to log into your monitoring portal at the end of each year or at any given time, enter in your import and export of power, click the button, and it'll then pull up all of the energy retailers and what your costs will be moving forward for the next 12 months. So some years you may have imported or exported a different ratio. So it's important to really compare each and every year. This is the ongoing support that we provide all of our solar customers. Thanks very much, and I'll hand you back over to Gabe.
Thanks very much for that, Jay, and that's really interesting and great to hear. That I think for a lot of people, there's the idea of solar installation and solar and battery, and then there's the really pragmatic, practical steps that can be undertaken that break that down. Because I know it's a different game, residential to commercial, and the commercial space is a little bit more complex given the demand profile from that's so variable from business to business. The costs are obviously upfront, potentially higher. And there's different tariffs to work with. So it's really good knowing that there's quite a streamlined process that businesses can undertake, and that it's often quite well supported. So I wanted to move along now to talk to Janet Shackleton from Perfect Potion, who are currently ecoBiz partners. They've gone through a couple of times. They're a major aromatherapy and cosmetics manufacturer who are based here in Brisbane, and they've undertaken incremental projects to improve energy efficiency at their site. And the outcomes of that have been fantastic. We've seen through their results in ecoBiz a 30% improvement in energy efficiency, and around about 40% improvement in the cost efficiency that's associated with using that energy. And as Eddie was saying previously, that equates to a fairly significant improvement in reducing those costs, which are just like improving productivity on site. So, Janet, I just wanted to start, obviously as businesses who's gone through these steps, a lot of other organisations, a lot of business operators think about what they need to do, and there can be some perceived risk, I guess, about taking that first step. So for yourself and for your colleagues, when did you first identify that energy efficiency would be a priority for you, and then how did you go about actioning that?
Thanks, Gabe. We first identified it a number of years ago. We were in a rented facility. We were crowded. We'd been there for 17 years, so it wasn't very energy efficient. But we were at the stage of relocating. We needed to relocate. So we made the decision to build a purpose-built facility, taking into account a lot of the lean practices that Eddie was referring to when we designed the layout. We looked at energy efficient lighting, our AC. We made sure that we had full control so we could run it when and where needed. So, and in 2017, we moved into the facility. We immediately saw a reduction in our energy use, but it was more looking at things that we didn't fully understand of ways to reduce it. So that's where we got the ecoBiz people on board, who were fantastic. They came on, we went through the site completely, and the first thing that came up was solar panels. We'd always known we wanted to get solar panels, but sometimes knowing what you want and knowing how to get it are two different things. So through a recommendation at one of the leaders forums, we got in contact with energy partners. Because one thing we knew, we know manufacturing and we know our skincare and aromatherapy products, but we didn't know anything about solar and the best way to implement it. We reached out to a few different companies, but instead of just coming back with one option, Energy Partners came back with several, and that was why we went down that area. Initially, it was a big cost one as well. With electricity being over $40,000 a year, we knew we had to become more efficient, not only in the energy we use, but in our costs, as we wanted to grow our manufacturing plant, and that was the first starting point. And the hardest part of any journey is the beginning and knowing where to start. So Energy Partners came back with a number of options to us and put forward, yes, we could go for option A, which was a system that would handle our current capacity, or we could go with option B, which is the 100-watt system. We went that way to allow for growth. It's also allowed us to air condition our warehouse and still remain energy neutral over the term of the year.
Great. That's really fantastic. And so obviously Jay touched on some of the ways in which they're able to help visualize what's happening with the solar and how it's working in terms of reshaping your consumption and what you're feeding back into the grid. Are there other ways in some of the other projects you talk about, lighting and AC system control, that you've been able to identify benefits and then be able to feed those outcomes back either to the rest of the team, to other stakeholders, or to customers?
Yes, it's been fantastic. The tools that we're able to access to see from a company's learning perspective, we were able to time when we charge our electric forklift. We were able to look at when certain machinery has to go through a cycling process. We were able to, with the simple phone app, we're able to see, you can certainly see the spike. We haven't gone down the track of measuring each individual machine. That's on our current process plan, but we were able to tweak how we did things at head office to ensure that we reduce that energy consumption. And that has been really useful tool. Just that simple visual look that you can see. Every time you see green, it's a happy day because you know that we're putting that energy back into the grid.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So obviously, right now, for a lot of business operators around the state and around the country and around the globe, it's looking at how to cut costs and cut them really, really quickly. I guess I was really interested to hear your take as a business who's obviously been doing fairly proactive cost cutting for a while now. How you feel? Do you feel if it's been something that's been demonstrable or that you've been able to see as being helping reinforce the business operation during this sort of tumultuous time?
It has certainly reinforced our operation. At the start of it, I thought this is just going to be too huge. I found it a very daunting thought because we had to make sure we knew solar panels would give us be better for the environment, which is something we're very is dear to the heart of Perfect Potion, but also we had to make sure it was cost effective. And it was, I guess, knowledge is a wonderful thing, and to know that within 4 years, as Jay said, we're just a little over a year in, within 4 years we will have paid for our system through our energy savings, as well as earned a nice bit of revenue on the side as well. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is if you make that first step, it makes things easier down the track. And now when we look at things and things we want to change, it doesn't seem as daunting. With the ecoBiz people that came in and went through it, I must admit, during the first session with them, we thought we were doing pretty good, but it was really interesting at the different areas you can work on. And just simple things that you can enact with the team straight away that have no cost factor to it, because we are all watching our dollars. The simple of the turn off the computers overnight, when in the past they were left in standby mode. Just little, I suppose it's really hard to describe, just the little increments that you can make. We recently, during these hard times, went on to split shifts, and even the team walking around and turning off all the lights for the hour we weren't on site during the middle of the day. It's really pleasing. The team get on board a lot easier if they can see the improvement, not just it's a saving to the business, but the improvement and the saving to the environment. We found that the team came on board really quickly.
Right, yeah, you touched on that cultural as well as operational shift that happens when you undertake this. Well, thanks so much for that, Janet. It's good getting a business operator's perspective going through that journey. I thought as we just head towards the end of the webinar that we'd touch on the ecoBiz process for people listening in, just to give them an understanding of how they might be able to get on that journey themselves. It's a 12-month process with a lot of resources piled in at the start. So it is free because it's government funded. It's run by CCIW, and essentially the resources are geared towards walking you through what Eddie went through earlier, looking at that incremental ramping up of opportunities that you can take advantage of, identifying things that you can be doing to be more efficient on site. So we'll ask for a bit of data from you in terms of, say, your electricity bills. We'll go over those to provide some information to a consultant such as Eddie, who will come out for a 2-hour session and build up a template or a menu board of recommendations that you can be taking advantage of. A lot of them are focused on the behaviour change and the process improvement. Those are the no and lower cost opportunities that most businesses can be taking advantage of. I think the one that comes up very often is the LED lighting, and Eddie touched on it as well, that sometimes it can be as short as a 2-month payback period for those. And then the cost cutting, I guess it's seen as long term then, and it's very beneficial because you're reducing those costs not just now but well into the future. So you're leaving yourself much more well positioned, sort of 12 weeks, 12 months down the track. We provide those recommendations to you and then work you through the next 12 months, looking to support you and act as that framework while you undertake any changes to energy efficiency. Look, I think we're pretty much at the end of the webinar now. I've got a few questions here. I've got one for each presenter. Eddie, the first one to you is, what's a good place to start? If you aren't a senior decision maker in the organisation, but you do want to undertake energy efficiency.
I would say engage the ecoBiz program would be a definite way to go in terms of, I guess, the time that it takes, the 2 hours and the support. Effectively, you're outsourcing like an environmental management team for that, so that's definitely what I recommend. But also, I guess, and outside of that, really, the first step I think would be to look at your bill. Everyone's got a metering coordinator that's applied to the bill. And so that may be Metering Dynamics or another company. So I basically go straight away and activate your access to your smart meter if you don't have it, and actually just look through that and generate some reports and just have a group fact-finding mission to actually understand the landscape where you can. That's the first start, and the next step, as Janet talked to, is to actually start to like turn machines off and on and look at the effect of that on your smart meter, and then you can start to understand your business, because the first part is understanding. So either with ecoBiz, together, or yourself, like the smart meter first, and ecoBiz first would be the way to go.
Okay, great. Thanks, Eddie. Jay, quick one for you. How do you know how much you can actually export back into the grid as a business who either has solar or would be looking to install some solar?
Yeah, so what we need to do in the first instance is we do an inquiry into the Energex. Energy Partners are electrical contractors, so we've got an electrical contractors portal with Energex. What we do is we put the business premises and details into the portal, and Energex will come back and indicate to us, based on the area and how saturated it is with solar, and it'll give you a limit as to what they can import or export. Generally, on small businesses, you'll get a minimum of 15 kilowatts export, up to 30 kilowatts. And then for your larger businesses that in the bigger industrial areas or commercial areas, they may have their own dedicated transformer on site. They will most likely get full export on, I'd say, like a 100 kilowatt system. So it depends on how the business is connected to the low voltage and high voltage network and how much solar is already currently in the area. So it'll really come down to first in, best dressed. As soon as someone gets their solar on, they're going to get the full export, and any other businesses in the area, if they don't get onto it, then you may miss that boat. And not that it's a huge deal maker or breaker, but, you know, with Janet and their business at the time, they have made a bit of revenue from exporting back into the grid, but now it's in a case where they're being able to utilize it to run their new big HVAC system. So basically, the sooner you get in with your inquiry, the better.
Great, thanks for that, Jay. Final question to you, Janet. Is there really one individual or champion who's needed, or one sort of key role needed on site to really get the ball rolling with these types of initiatives, or is it more of a team effort?
I think you need the one starting point until you get rolling, and then you're able to look at spreading the load. I have found the journey through ecoBiz not draining at all on business resources, and that's probably one of the biggest advantages, and one of the biggest things I could recommend anyone do is to start that journey. Prior to it, we were all over the place, and I suppose once you select a process to run through, and from there we were able to involve the staff in the different areas of the business that would be needed. But with the installation of our solar, it was just done through 2 people here at head office. It was their focus, and we basically handed it across to Jay, and he looked after it for us. So that made it an even easier process.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right, well, I think we've reached the conclusion of the webinar today. So I just want to thank Eddie, Jay, and Janet for that time and for their experience and their insights. For anyone who's listening, if you're interested in what we've talked about today, about what any of the individual presenters have talked about, or the ecoBiz website, we'll be sending out slides with details, contact details of everyone who's been here today. If you want more information on ecoBiz, you can go to our website, or you can email us at any time, which will be part of the package that will be sent to you. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Goodbye.
Thank you.